always say there isn't any money for us, for our NHS, for public services. There's always money for weapons, and particularly nuclear weapons. And so I'm proud to introduce Kate Hudson from the Campaign for Nuclear Disarmament.
Thanks, Shabir. Good to see everyone here today. And you're quite right when you say that, Shabir. The government says, what did it say at the beginning of last year? It said, no, sorry, we can only afford a 1% pay rise for nurses. 5 minutes later, Boris Johnson, Prime Minister at that time, turned round and said, but actually, we're going to increase the nuclear arsenal by over 44%. I mean, that is criminal. And who's paying for this? Who's paying for the wars? Who's paying for the weapons? Who's paying for the nuclear weapons of mass destruction? It's us. It's the British taxpayer. We are paying for that. And who is making the money from that? It is the arms companies with all their links to our political elite. And it's about time that we said, no, we're not going to put up with this anymore. We want that money for wages, not weapons. We want it for our health service. We want it for education and decent paid jobs. And we want it to deal with the climate change crisis, by the way. So there are so many things we need that money for, and we do not need it for weapons and war. But what is going on now with this new government? Are they thinking of cutting back on wasteful weapons spending? No, they're not. At the moment, they're discussing whether to actually increase Britain's weapons spending from 2% to 3% of GDP. We are already one of the world's biggest arms spenders. We spend more every year on arms than Russia does, than Japan, than Germany, than France. And you have to ask yourself, why? What is the point of spending this money? It is money for killing, it is money for destruction, destroying people's lives and livelihoods. And it is money down a big hole, an endless, bottomless pit. And we have to say that we are not going to stand for that. And our movement has to be united against this kind of spending. Any spending on weapons of mass destruction and on weapons. And last couple of weeks ago at the TUC Congress, there was a big debate about this, and it was narrowly agreed that the TUC would support more weapons spending. Well, that is a crime in my book. It is a crime. And what do we know from what was said in that debate by one of the trade union speakers? He said, don't forget, there is a worker on both ends of a bayonet. And never forget that. It is working people who are killed on both sides in wars. And who makes the money? The billionaires make the money. They take that money home while communities are destroyed. So it's about time we united as a movement against weapons spending, against war, and said we want a decent society for all our communities based on justice and peace. Thank you very much.